Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to give you a 2-year update on my ddock and share with you my new display setup for long distance travel. Welcome back and thanks for being here. I've been using a ddock for approximately 2 years and have given it some pretty good praise both in internet discussion forums and in a video that I did, I think about a year ago. Check it out up here. But I'm going to stop using it, and I hate to say it because it's a really good product, and but here's why. I've had connection issues with it, and they've been few and far between. Usually, I was able to blame it on a connection, or maybe the connector in the back of the phone, or the wire going bad, or sometimes my connector would slip here in the mount. Let me put this in front of my face so hopefully it'll focus on this instead. So I will put my connector in here. It just slips in the back, and you know, you can glue it into place, but I don't, because for a while I was blaming the connector for disconnects. So I didn't want to glue it in if I thought I was going to be replacing the connector. So what I've come to conclude is that the phone itself, not the phone, is a little confusing. The phone, when I would hit bumps, actually bounces just a little tiny bit in the cradle here. And then because the connector is fixed in the back, the connector would stay put and the phone would move, and then that would create a little tweaking on the connector in the back. And it was very difficult to spot or figure that out with my older phone. I had a Galaxy S9 Plus, which is kind of big, but not really big. And then I switched over to this Note 20 phablet, and the thing is gigantic. And so what happens is now the phone hangs over by quite a lot. And so when I hit a bump, it's a little more inclined to do this, and then that creates more tweaking in the back, and then it results in a disconnect while I'm driving down the road, and it drives me crazy. I had even tried putting this this foam wedge in here, and I would just stick that in here like that to help hold the phone in place, and no, that didn't do it either. So I decided to isolate the ddock by removing it and then just plugging the phone directly into the cable. And then sure enough, my problem went away. So it's the ddock. I think the ddock is still a great product, and I'm sure it works great on small phones, but I don't like the way it works with my Note 20. So, and the Note 20 is not going anywhere. I'm not going to dispose of the ddock. I'm going to keep it just in case I decide to put it back in the service. Or maybe I'll sell it to somebody. I don't know. I haven't decided, but it's still in good shape. I mean, sure, the carpet in it still peels up a little bit, but that's not a big deal. I'll shave that for you. And then the tape is still there. I don't use the tape. I just let friction do its job. My new display setup. Recently, I got turned on to a new way of, I don't want to call it mounting, I'll just say positioning a smartphone. And that is to just lay it right across the opening of the cubbyhole in front of the gear shift. And it's kind of funny that it's so simple, but it works great. You just lay it across the front, plug it in, and tuck your cable in behind it. It looks fine, and it works fine. Of course, if I, send it in a foot to the floor acceleration, then I suspect the phone is going to get underway and come back at me or something. Maybe I'll show you that. But my setup for travel, I like to use both Google Maps and Waze. Google Maps, though, is the better navigator by far. Waze has drivers do stupid stuff, and I'm not quite sure why. Google owns Waze, and therefore you would think that they would make the same navigation decisions, but they don't. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because Waze is playing games and trying to get you to run over their little prizes or something, but it just doesn't make smart decisions sometimes. So I like, if I'm navigating between 2 points that I know and can punch in an address, or I've got the address saved already, Waze will suffice. But if I'm searching for something, that's another thing too, is if I say, okay, Google, navigate here, well, if I'm in Waze, then it's going to switch my command over to Waze, and then Waze is going to try to find this address, and it doesn't always find it. So Google is way better at that, Google Maps, I should say. So I put Google Maps on the MIB2, and then I run Waze on the phone display in front of the gear shift. Waze is great for traffic reports, or maybe police officers if they're staked out someplace. Car crashes, it'll inform me of that kind of stuff. And I don't need to look at Waze in order to benefit from that. I just need the sound to be piped through the stereo, and it's great for that. My third display, you've seen it before, but here it is again, is a tablet mounted in front of one of my AC vents. I run Google Maps on it as well. And what I'm doing here with the tablet is I zoom out so that I can look at traffic in the distance. Most of the time, the traffic lines are all green and everybody's happy, but sometimes I'll see some red. And if it's a little bit of red, it's not a big deal. But if it's a lot of red, it's nice to be able to see that miles in advance so that I can choose an alternate route if it's available. Google Maps and Waze both they'll let you know there's a traffic jam ahead, there's a crash reported ahead, but they don't tell you nearly early enough. Oftentimes, by the time you get that report on those two apps, it's just too late. You're already stuck in it. You can't find another exit. You're hosed. Scanning out and further ahead, say by 10 miles, I can see those kind of problems way in advance and then hopefully take an earlier detour. So those are my three setups. As far as mounting the tablet, there are a lot of different ways that you can do it. I'm using right now a ProClip, and then ProClip sells devices that you can use to attach tablets and things like that, but I'm not using their product on that. I'm using a mount that's intended for my ham radio display, and I decided to use it for my tablet as well to maintain some consistency between my devices so that I can switch them around if I want. And so, yeah, check out my ham radio video. I talk a little bit more about that mount, and you can see how that works. But for the most part, if you don't have these ham radios, I would go with the ProClip solution. I know they've got something. I just don't have it, so I can't tell you much about it. But go check out that website. You'll find something. Speaking of road trips, I have a pretty big one coming up. Stay tuned, and I will begin to give you reports on that one. Thanks for being here. I will see you next time. Take care.